guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be talking about swatching and doing looks from this Alamar Cosmetics palette. This is the Reina Del Caribe eyeshadow palette volume 1. I'm going to talk a little bit about the company, I'm going to talk a little bit about this palette, and then I am going to go into swatches and showing you looks for it and then giving you my thoughts as I have been playing around with this for a couple of days and also wearing the shadows through the day. So let's start talking about Alamar Cosmetics, and it's a pretty easy thing to tell you about because it is a brand new company. This launched in May of this year, which is 2018, and they currently have two products. There is this eyeshadow palette, and then there is a trio of brushes. This is the kind of company that I really like looking into because there is a real reason and strength behind the brand. This company was started by a woman named Gabriela Trujillo, or Gaby TMUA, or Gaby. So she has a background in the cosmetics industry. She has, Instagram account. I believe she does videos. I will link all of her social media stuff down below. And also I believe was the sort of lead makeup artist for BoxyCharm. So I'm going to read you just from the information on their website because it is a beautiful bio and point of view for a company. So it says here, I was born in one of the many urban barrios in Cuba called Alamar. I lived there for the first few years of my life before my family fled Cuba and moved to Miami, Florida. Like all immigrants, I had to learn how to adapt to a new culture, learn a new language, and an entire new way of life. The actual word Alamar means stay close to the sea, which to me meant to stay grounded to my culture. Upon learning this, suddenly the concept of my makeup brand became clear. Through my brand, I want to inspire others to learn new things, adapt, change, evolve, but never forget that there's beauty and inspiration in your very own roots. Merge the new with the old, the modern with the classics, trends with the timeless, and you will find yourself. And then there is an absolutely gorgeous picture of Gaby here in the most gorgeous dress and just looking absolutely gorgeous. The one thing I would say, if nobody's gonna watch this from the company, but it doesn't actually say her name anywhere here. I had to find a interview somewhere else to see your name. I mean, she says all this stuff, just sign it and then we know you because I want to know you. This is such a great introduction to a company. And you really feel the Cuban colors, the Miami inspiration, all of that coming through in the palette and even in the brushes they carry through that color. So this is, I think, a gorgeous way to start out a brand. And I think that I'm looking forward to seeing what else comes out from this brand in the future. So this palette itself is going to cost you $28 US. So while it's not drugstore priced, it is very reasonable. It features 8 highly opaque shades reminiscent of the beauty and culture of Cuba. Dive into the pigments and pearls found in the intense metallics, or ground your look with the warm richness of the creamy mattes. For a more intense application, refer to the shade names that feature a water droplet. These shades can be used with a wet brush. The sun symbol represents the shades that should be used with a dry brush. And basically all of the shimmer shades can be used wet. The matte shade should be used dry. It is made in the USA. It is cruelty-free. It is gluten-free. It is paraben-free, and mineral oil-free. I do believe that's everything I have to say about the palette because there's going to be a lot of swatches and looks. So let's just get right into those. So you can just see from the swatches here how beautifully rainbow the colors in this palette are. So we start with the 4 shimmers, and the first one is La Costa, which is a little harder to see on my skin tone. We then have El Malcon, which is this gorgeous, almost antique looking gold because it has sort of a green undertone. There is then Veradero, which is gorgeous as well. And these are all dry swatched, although with the shimmers you can use them wet as well. But that blue is just amazing. Next there is Celia, the turquoise, which took a little bit to build up. It wasn't quite as pigmented. And then you get into the 4 mattes, which are a little hit and miss. So Cocoa Taxi was a little bit rough. It's the yellow and needed to be built up a little bit. Tropico, the orange, was just beautiful and soft. Guantanamera is that sort of reddish purple. It felt rough, but it was very pigmented. And then Cafecito was very pigmented and a little bit dustier than all the other ones, but here are the gorgeous colors. So for the look I'm going to attempt now, I'm going to see if you took this palette with you as the only palette you had while traveling or something like that. Could you do kind of a neutral, everyday kind of look? Not the most exciting, but a good test of a palette as well. Let me zoom you in and we will get started. I'm going to start with a very fluffy brush into Cocoa Taxi, which is this yellowish color, and I'm trying not to get too much yellow, but just deepen up the crease a little bit. It does pull a little bit yellow, but it's yellow. It's supposed to do that. I'm going to very lightly with the same fluffy brush go into Capacito and just deepen up the outside of the crease just a little bit. And I'm just tapping in the tiniest bit and tapping off because I believe this is a pretty pigmented color. And I'm just holding very lightly and just grazing my eye a little bit, my eyelid. It's a little touch patchy. It did deepen up the crease a little bit. I'm gonna take a denser, flatter brush and again go into the dark brown Cafecito, and I'm going to run that just along my lash line on the outer part of my eye and then blend it upwards. So I'm gonna do it a little bit more with a patting motion. And then I'll go back to the fluffy brush to blend along the top of that. See, it wants to sort of just blend it completely away when I do that, which makes it a little patchy with that brown color. Does anyone else have the problem where as soon as they start doing eye makeup, their eyes start to water? If you ever find that my eye looks look really patchy around the corners of my eye, it's oftentimes because my eyes have started to water and then the shadow gets moved away. Okay, I mean, I've got some nice depth going there. Now I'm going to go into the lightest shimmer shade here, La Costa, and I'm just going to do that with my finger and pat it on because that often gives, you know, the best shimmer shade result. It's so hard sometimes how it comes out so well on your finger and then doesn't transfer quite as much as you want. But there, that's doing well. And then instead of blending, which that brown doesn't love, I'm just kind of patting over top and I'll use the fluffy brush a little bit to blend the two. Okay, even though the brown was a bit patchy, I'm actually pretty happy with how this is looking. I'm gonna do a little bit of color on the lower lash line. To start with, I'm gonna take an even smaller flat brush back into Capacito because I'm gonna do a little bit of the darkest brown there along the lower lash line, and then I'm going to blend it out a little bit with the yellow. And I'm just gonna use, I have this little flat fluffy brush here to go into Cocoa Taxi again and use that as the color to blend my lower lash line. Okay, I'm going to go do my eyeliner, my mascara, my blush, my lipstick, everything else, and I'll be back to show you the final look. So I added a brighter lip since it was a neutral eye look, a little bit of black liner, some mascara, and rouged up my cheeks a little bit with some Milani Berry Amore, and this is the final look. I did find the dark brown to be a little patchy, not my favorite, but the yellow and the light shimmer are beautiful eyeshadows. The next look that I want to try is one that was recommended by Gaby, who made this palette. I read an interview where she was asked what her favorite look was that people had done, and she said there's just so many, she loves all of them, but one thing that she really likes as a very easy tropical look is to use Cocoa Taxi in the crease and then Selena all over the lid. So I thought I would try that and see what it looked like. So let me get you zoomed in. I'm gonna start again with my very fluffy brush and put that into Cocoa Taxi. I'm just starting out very light so that I can sort of control where the color goes. And then as most of it is off of my brush, I'll just blend it upwards. I did set my lid to start with a little bit of concealer as a base and then translucent powder over top to give the shadow something to blend into. So I've kind of got that all over my lid, but I think well, do I need to deepen up the crease? I don't think so. We're going for like breezy and tropical here. I went a little bit further down this way than I would like, but I can clean that up with powder afterwards. It's just makeup. It's easy to fix. Looking at myself, I feel like this one really comes out this way and this one stays much more up under my arch, which is kind of what I want. There we go. So once that's cleaned up, it will be even there. And now we're going to go into Celine. I would normally go in with just my finger, but I'm going to go in with the sort of the flat acrylic brush here, just to see if I can use it well with a brush. And it is this beautiful sort of teal color here. It doesn't seem to be picking up a lot on the brush. I'm gonna try it dry first, and then I will wet this with a bit of setting spray and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a wash of the color right now, but definitely not the punch that I really want. So let's try some setting spray. For this kind of application, I always use setting sprays that aren't my favorite to actually use on my face, because all you really want is a wet brush. I mean, I know some people do this with just water. There we go, now we're getting more of that punchy color. Match up the other lid. It didn't really want to come out as nicely that time. Let me use my finger like I usually do and see if that is just a little bit easier. Like, that is the color that I want coming through on my lid. Now what I am going to do is try to bring a little bit of that blue or teal, the Celine color, under my lash line and sort of buff it out a little bit with Cocoa Taxi. So I'm just going to use a little dense flat brush for this. Okay, that's really pretty under the eyes. And as I said, I'm going to use a bit of a fluffier brush to blend it out a little bit with Cocoa Taxi. So that is very pretty. I'm going to zoom you back out and I'm going to go finish this look up with a little bit of lips and blush and mascara and everything else, and I'll be right back. So I'm back and you can see I went bold. I first went to look at my lipstick options and thought maybe I'll do a nude lip because it's a brighter, you know, eye look. And then I thought if there was ever a time to like play with color, it's looking at this palette, and when do I ever get a chance to wear this like really bright corally pink orange color, if not with, you know, a blue and yellow eye look. I've added a lot of highlight to really give myself some shine. I've bronzed up my face quite a bit to make it a real, you know, summer kind of look, and this is definitely screaming summer and tropical and warm and lovely, and just I am adoring it. Now this is a choice for me that is outside my comfort zone, but you know, if you did do a nude lip, this would be easily a very wearable look, and it's just gorgeous. So I'll zoom you in and show you the final eye look. For this look, I want to play around in some of these beautiful oranges and sort of purpley reds, and then into the gold. So I have a vision of sort of a halo eye, a bit with the orange, the red to deepen it up a little bit, and then the gold to kind of give it a little bit of a spotlight feel. And once again, my eyes are watering a little bit, so I hope that doesn't mess up this look. Let's zoom in and get started. We're gonna start out with a fluffy brush into Tropico. I'm gonna start, it's a dusty shade, but I'm gonna start first with a very light hand because I want it to kind of be my crease shade, and then I'll deepen it up onto the lid. So there we go. A little bit deeper at the outside, but blend it up towards the lid, and I'll do the same on the other side. And I'm just going to use a flatter, dense brush to sweep that all over the lid as well. It is very dusty, so you might get some fallout. It doesn't want to stick in a couple of places there. There we go, that eye turned out well. I want it so to be deeper on the lid and then fade up into the crease. I am finding with these mattes that they really like to be tapped on rather than brushed on. I'm now going to take a smaller pencil brush and I'm going to go into Guantanamera, which is a very deep burgundy, almost purplish looking red. And I'm going to use that just sort of on the lash line and outer corner. I might use this fluffy brush again, the shadows seem to like this, and just sort of stamp that along the lower lash line and the outer part of my eye. The red is surprisingly not showing up as much as I want it to be. I'll try to use the red a little bit more in the lower lash line to then buff out with the orange a little bit. But for now, let's go into that beautiful gold color. So I'm going to go into El Malicon, and I'm going to do that first with a small, flat, dense brush. I'm starting out with this on a brush just dry, but I may go in with my finger depending on how much payoff I get. See, that is really pretty. It's a small thing, but I really wish this palette had a mirror in it so I could just sort of go back and forth and do the looks. Now, normally when I do my eyeshadow, I'm sitting in front of a mirror, so it isn't that big of a deal. It's just when I'm sitting here filming, I have to keep putting that palette down and picking up another one to use the mirror. This gold really has something neat to it. There's this real greenish undertone to it that just makes it pop in a really unique way. Ooh, that really does something really beautiful and brightening to the eye. That's gorgeous. It's interesting, when you first look at this palette, you're really drawn to like the blues and teals, but this gold is gorgeous. Wow, I love that. So to finish this up, I'm going to go first into Guantanamera and try to put that along my lash line and then buff it out a bit with Tropico, the orange. I'm trying to decide if I want to use a little pop of the beautiful gold on my lower lash line, but we'll get this part done first and then see how we feel. I can tell you that I see some shimmer and shadow fallout. Oh yeah, definitely some gold shimmer fallout from that gold. So here on my lower lash line, Guantanamera is going on quite well, so it could just be that it doesn't like to build on top of the other shadow. And so I'll take my fluffier brush into Tropico, not pointing at the right one, Tropico, and blend that out on the lower lash line. I think I'll try to do a little bit of that gold just in the inner corners. I'll just do that as a very gold inner corner highlight. Okay, there we go with this gorgeous orange and green gold look. I'm gonna go get the rest of my face on and I'll be back to show you the final look. So here's the final look. I went for a sort of coral blush to match the orangeness of the eye and then just a very neutral glossy lip. And I'll zoom you in to show you the final look. In all of those looks, I never ended up using the gorgeous blue shade of Veradero, which is why I have it on my lids today. It does go on beautifully. It actually goes on much more opaque than the teal Selena does. I do find though that it does stain the skin, so just be aware of that when you use it. Probably for about 24 hours afterwards, you're going to have not a lot of staining, but just a little bit. You can see where it was. Overall, I really like this palette. I think these shades perform in different ways. I think that especially in the mattes, you've got some that work really well and some that aren't really that creamy kind ofness that they were talking about. So I would have to say this, is I think these two shades are gorgeous, and I think this gold is like a standout that I didn't expect to see coming. I think it is beautiful. I think this blue is incredibly opaque. I know a lot of times companies have trouble with blue, and this one is just like, boom, you put it on and it's got the opaqueness, it's got the shimmer, it's got a depth to it, which is really nice. This one right here I think is beautiful, but it does take a little while to layer up. You don't get sort of that boom with it that you get right away with the blue one. I think that Coco Taxi performs incredibly well, and I think that Tropico performs incredibly well. I think that Guantanamera and Cafecito can be a little bit patchy. They work, but they are a little more finicky in terms of layering it, and they work best if you pat them onto your lid to get color rather than try to blend them on. I think that's where it gets a little bit patchy. But I am loving this palette. I did wear the neutral look that you saw through the whole day, and it didn't crease, it didn't budge. It looked just as good at the end of the day as it did when I first put it on. So they are long lasting, which is great. And just in an industry where you see so many palettes that are the same neutrals and browns and different shades of browns, maybe some warm browns, and then oftentimes you'll get like one little pop of color, like one green or one blue, and you look at that and go, oh, look at this unique palette. There's actually a video by Thrifty Beauty. I'm gonna find her video and link it down below, where she talks about the pop of color effect, where you'll have these palettes that are very neutral, kind of boring, and then one shade is put in or two shades are put in that make it pop, and then people are going and buying it because it seems unique because of that one shade. All of that roundaboutness to say that this is a palette where every shade in here is a pop of color. I mean, you've got a dark brown, which you probably don't need. You probably have dark browns in other palettes, but everything else here is unique and popping and bright. And while I do think that every look I put together is something that is wearable, I also think that this could really shine to be used in tandem with a more neutral palette, because these are all the pops of color that you would want. And I think more companies should be doing this, just putting out not the same old stuff with one or two interesting shades. Just give us a bunch of interesting shades. I promise you that so many people have so many neutral palettes that this is the kind of thing that is going to get people excited. So I am loving this. I am really looking forward to seeing what else this brand comes out with, because I felt a really clear point of view and feeling from using these colors, and I think that sort of Cuban Miami feel and having that continue through is just gorgeous. I think that they have some great formulas here. As I said, there's a couple that are a little iffy, but by and large, great formula, great palette, love it. I would love to hear about the looks that you are making with this, how you have found it, how you're playing around with it. Leave all of that in the comments down below. I do try to respond to every comment that I get. If you like these kinds of videos with the 3 looks from a palette, leave a like on this video. That lets me know that you like it. If you've not yet subscribed to my channel, I do makeup reviews, skincare reviews, beauty reviews. I try to review stuff in BoxyCharm, in Ipsy. You can subscribe to my channel by clicking here. I try to put out 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but sometimes I get a little off schedule, so hit that bell notification so you know when I post. And thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.